Su-hong and his friend were locked in an intense sparring match. And right after his punch was blocked by an elbow of his friend, the guy got pushed back a couple of steps. He stops the training session, whining about how his arm now hurts like hell. But this also means that Su-hong's diamond fist had improved once again. When the guy asked Su-hong whether he'd reached subtlety, he confirmed that he had just 2 days ago. You see, subtlety was one of this world's martial arts realms. And any martial arts mastery can be divided into 5 levels: entry, proficiency, subtlety, great accomplishment, and perfection. His friend was totally blown away by this, saying that in terms of the diamond fist, no one else in their class even comes close to him. Anyway, Su-hong was already eager to get back to training, but his friend begs for a break. In fact, he wasn't going to stick around to keep sparring with a training maniac. Plus, he was hungry and needed to go home for a meal. On his way out, he bid his farewell to teacher Lee, who reprimands him for leaving in his gym clothes. The middle-aged man then walks over to Su-hong to talk about him applying for the martial division. He asks why he still hasn't paid the $30,000 yuan enrollment fee. Su-hong asks for more time because of his family situation, but the teacher replied that his hands were tied. Rules were rules after all. Anyway, after the practice sessions ended, the gym was completely empty, with just Su-hong training by himself. Su-hong is left alone and frustrated, stewing over that $30,000 yuan fee. He recalls his parents passing away when he was only 3 years old in a beast disaster. Since then, he's been living with his aunt and uncle who totally support his training. Being a martial artist was a super lucrative career since the world had been overrun by ferocious beasts. That's why Su-hong feels guilty for being a burden on them. Even though he had been training with everything he's got, Su-hong heads home to his small apartment. But from the doorway, he overhears his aunt and uncle talking about being short on rent money. They decide to prioritize their nephew's enrollment fee because they don't want to hold the boy back. To make it happen, his uncle considers stopping his health medication while his aunt thinks about getting a second job. Su-hong's heart breaks hearing the sacrifice they're willing to make for him. Even so, he snaps out of his thoughts and forces a smile before entering. When he walks in, Su-hong greets the two, and his aunt fusses at him for training late again. He offers to give his uncle a massage, but the man just tells him to get some rest. The scene then shifts to Su-hong's room. Lying in bed and thinking things over, he decides he's going to solve his problems on his own. To do that, Su-hong figures there's only one place he can make some fast cash. The next day, Su-hong heads to a super modern building surrounded by a small forest. The place is actually an underground fight club, where the only rule is to win. The announcer introduces the fighter of the night, the Minotaur, who is none other than a disguised Su-hong. To take home the $60,000 prize, he needs to win 4 fights in a row. The crowd looks at this mysterious fighter over and murmurs that he must be a rookie. The announcer lady tells Su-hong to hype up the crowd, but he has no idea what to do, so she explains that he needs to taunt everyone. Su-hong gets the message. With that, he shouts that he's invincible and calls for all the weaklings to step up. The audience is shocked by his arrogance and figures he won't last long. But it gets the crowd fired up, and they start roaring for the fight to finally begin. Su-hong feels the tension in the air, but stays focused on fighting to get that money. Soon a guy in a rat mask climbs into the ring to face Su-hong. Su-hong analyzes his opponent and spots a weakness in his stance. The opponent rushes in with a punch while Su-hong seems distracted. Su-hong quickly raised his open fist for a lightning-fast counter against the rat mask dude. With a single well-aimed punch to his opponent's face, Su-hong shows off his power. The impact is so intense that the rat guy gets sent flying across the ring. Su-hong celebrates his first win and immediately calls for the next challenger. The crowd goes absolutely wild over the Minotaur's impressive performance. A new fighter enters the arena and says Su-hong won't be so lucky this time. Su-hong invites him to fight, thinking he can use this guy to test his strength. The opponent wastes no time and charges straight at Su-hong. But Su-hong blocks the guy's punch with his own fist, creating a huge shockwave. The opponent is stunned by his strength, but Su-hong knows he's stronger. Seizing the opportunity, he lands a solid punch right in the big guy's face. Su-hong notices that the guy put too much power into his punch, leaving his waist wide open. So, he takes advantage of the opening and delivers a powerful kick right to his side. The blow is so brutal, it sends the fighter flying clean out of the arena. And just like that, Su-hong scores his second victory in a row without breaking a sweat. He stands alone in the ring, waiting for the next opponent to step up. In a luxurious private room, a man in a suit remarks that the Minotaur is strong for an apprentice. This guy sees that the Minotaur already has 3 wins and decides to rig the next fight. At that moment, a masked fighter offers to take him on, and the boss tells him to hide his true strength. Meanwhile, Su-hong thinks beating these guys was a piece of cake with his new fist technique. He refocuses knowing he's just one more win away from the 60,000 he needs. Suddenly, he sees his final opponent. The crowd recognized the new challenger as the White Fox and was in an uproar because he was a quasi-martial artist, which was basically cheating. Su-hong knows this fight is going to be tough, but he can't even think about losing. The White Fox cracks a smug little smirk, showing he's feeling pretty confident. He tells Su-hong not to be scared because he knows his limits. With both of them in the ring, the announcer calls the final match. As soon as the bell rings, they both dash toward each other at high speed. Su-hong decides to go all out right from the first attack. He throws a powerful punch, but the White Fox stops it with an equally forceful punch of his own. Su-hong is shocked when he feels the power behind it and realizes this guy isn't just a simple quasi-martial artist. Then it hits him the guy is a real martial artist, just hiding his strength. The White Fox then calls out Su-hong for getting distracted. He unleashes a move called the Thunder Fist, landing a direct hit on Su-hong. The impact is brutal, and Su-hong feels the overwhelming power of a true martial artist. In the audience, people recognize the technique and already count the Minotaur out. The White Fox attacks relentlessly, taunting Su-hong to fight back and show his real strength. Su-hong can only defend knowing that if this keeps up, he's going to lose. He needs to find an opening to counterattack, but his opponent isn't giving him an inch. In a brief lapse, one of the White Fox's punches gets through Su-hong's defense. The blow lands right on Su-hong's face with tremendous force. The punch sends Su-hong flying to the ground, leaving him completely stunned. Lying on the floor, Su-hong's consciousness starts to fade after the attack. The White Fox steps on his mask and informs him he won't be getting a single cent of the prize money. But he makes Su-hong an offer to join them, and he'll get the money, but Su-hong refuses. White Fox then threatens him, saying he can't afford the price of refusal. Down on the arena floor, Su-hong questions their honor as martial artists. The White Fox loses his patience, seeing that there's nothing left to talk about. So, he decides he's going to finish off Su-hong so he can never fight again. The threat echoes in Su-hong's mind as he thinks about his dream. With that, the White Fox rushes in with a spinning kick to end the fight, but Su-hong dodges at the last second. The White Fox is taken by surprise. Even after that beating, Su-hong gets back up, surrounded by a fiery aura. The opponent is shocked that he withstood his punches and is still standing. On his feet and driven purely by determination, Su-hong thinks of his family and all they've sacrificed for his dream. He knows he can't accept a future where he fails them all. Suddenly, a mysterious screen appears and asks what he would sacrifice for his faith and family. Then, with a furious scream, Su-hong answers that he would sacrifice everything. As an aura worth over 1 million explodes around him, the system asks if he's willing to pay the price, and Su-hong yells that he was. All of a sudden, Su-hong is transported to a strange, digital-looking space. As he wonders where he is, a sinister shadow emerges. Before him, a golden figure appears with an overwhelming presence. This entity says it will give him a chance, and then it begins to fade away. The being's golden light flies towards Su-hong and completely envelopes him. A golden system screen appears, floating in front of him. It's all of Su-hong's attributes like vitality, spirit, and his skills. Su-hong gets curious and touches the screen to see if it's a touch screen. His finger goes right to the first mission button to check notification alert on the random mission given. The mission was a tutorial to defeat the White Fox and improve his martial arts. Su-hong wonders what beginner's guide is just as a clone of himself appears, and launches at him. But with pure reflexes, Su-hong dodges the clone's punch. He realizes the clone is using his Dra Fist technique perfectly, just like it says in the manual. Seeing the clone as a master, Su-hong decides he can't miss this chance to learn. He jumps into the fight and starts trading punches with his copy. Su-hong realizes the clone is demonstrating the perfect way to fight, completely overwhelming him. But the clone doesn't hold back and lands a full power punch right in Su-hong's gut. The punch was so strong it sends Su-hong flying backward. He notices his own fist technique has improved and is shocked by how fast he's progressing. With a smile, he understands that this place can level up his skills incredibly quickly. So, the two go back to fighting with everything they've got, continuing the intense training. With every punch, Su-hong's mastery of the Dra Fist grows more and more. They also practice the Void Step and Su-hong's proficiency skyrockets. In a short time, all of his skills are nearing their maximum level. His floating light palm is the first to reach the micro level. Right after, his Void Step reaches the same milestone. With one final punch, his Dra Fist finally achieves the master level. After the training, the clone dissolves into golden light, leaving Su-hong alone and exhausted. As the session ends, the system congratulates him and asks if he wants to return to reality. Su-hong agrees, and in that same instant, he's back in the arena, right in front of the White Fox. His opponent, annoyed by all the weirdness, charges at Su-hong with everything he has. He attacks with his Thunder Fist, trying to end the fight once and for all. But Su-hong dodges the punch with ease, thinking it was way too slow. With unbelievable speed, Su-hong unleashes a powerful punch on his rival. The hit lands square on the opponent's face, shattering his mask into pieces. Su-hong gives him a cold stare, showing his determination after that mighty blow. In the crowd, everyone is in shock at the unbelievable comeback. With that, the White Fox falls in defeat and Su-hong wins the fight. He then turns to the announcer and asks when he's getting his prize money. From his office, the arena boss is stunned that an apprentice has mastered the Dra Fist. Intrigued, he orders his men to follow Su-hong and find out who he is. With the cash in his pocket, Su-hong leaves through a dark city alley. But before he gets close to home, he glances back suspiciously, feeling like he's being followed. Su-hong was quick to ditch the two men who had been tailing him ever since he left the arena. They start to panic because they lost track of Su-hong and had no idea of his real identity either. But unbeknownst to them, Su-hong was quietly above them, hiding in the dark just in between the alley walls. With that, he manages to escape and gets to the safety of a nearby rooftop. Su-hong made his way home. His aunt and uncle are shocked by the cash and ask if he robbed a bank. He lies and says the dojo master sponsored him after seeing his great talent. Su-hong sticks to his story and asks them to trust him. Hearing this, his aunt and uncle are bursting with pride and believe in his promising future. After their talk, Su-hong goes up to the roof to think for a bit. He's relieved to have solved the family's money problems. Su-hong thanks the system for helping him but notices that only his skills have changed. Then, a notification explains that martial value can be used to level up his other stats. Without a second thought, he decides to test it and dumps the points into his vitality. His vitality jumps from 85 to 90. He feels an insane amount of power coursing through his entire body. A pure energy aura completely surrounds him. Looking at his stats, he realizes he's reached the level of a quasi-martial artist. Hyped up, he decides to put all his remaining points into vitality. He notices his injuries have vanished and he feels stronger than ever. Full of energy, he leaps across the rooftops to go test out his current power. He decides to head to school to test his strength on a combat machine. Arriving at Star City No. 1 high school training ground, he approaches what seemed to be a machine used to gauge a person's strength. But it was merely a Tier 1. Nonetheless, Su-hong gets ready and decides to use 70% of his power. With a focused look, he unleashes his most powerful punch yet. The hit smashes into the machine with a devastating impact. He gets a little worried about the force of his own attack. The machine is completely wrecked and he wonders if he was going to have to pay for it. The noise attracts attention, so Su-hong decides to bounce as fast as he can. Just then, an old guy in pajamas shows up and is absolutely livid about the broken machine, immediately suspecting a couple of students, Chun-shan and Li-tu. Furious, the old geezer vows to teach whoever's responsible a serious lesson once school starts. The very next day, all the final year students assembled at the school's gymnasium, and in the lineups, Su-hong noticed a bump on Chun-shan's head and questioned his friend about it. Apparently, Chun-shan was held responsible for smashing the tester in the outdoor drill ground in the middle of the night yesterday and refused to admit it, so he was punished by the principal. Su-hong gave a nervous smile, realizing Chun-shan was made to take the blame for him. In that moment, the principal instructed them to pipe down before introducing his old comrade-in-arms and a Tier 3 martial artist, Chun-tian. He was there to teach them a C-rank martial art, the Thunder Rush Fist. The principal then urges everyone to learn it well. Almost immediately, the crowd was abuzz since a C-rank martial arts taught outside dojos cost hundreds of thousands in tuition. Also, some were amazed upon seeing a Tier 3 martial artist for the first time. Su-hong suddenly recalls his fight with White Fox, noting he used a technique that had the very same name. And he silently acknowledged how powerful this technique truly was, allowing a martial artist to blast out 3 impacts from one punch. If he wanted to learn this kind of C-rank martial art outside, just the registration fee would be at least several $100,000. So with this intel, he was determined to seize this opportunity. Chun-tian took charge and called out to the students, instructing them to quit with their nonsensical chatter and watch as he demonstrates the technique. He will perform the technique 10 times from start to finish. And how much they learn depends on themselves. Chun-tian suddenly shifted his stance, and as he punched the air, he informed them that the Thunder Rush Fist's momentum is fierce and domineering. At the basic level, the punch will emit a sound of thunder. At Proficient, they can strike out 3 sounds. At micro level, 5 sounds. and at mastered level, which was his current realm, 7 sounds. When he was done, he tops it off with what to expect when one reaches the perfect realm. At that realm, the strikeout would emit 9 sounds. However, they shouldn't aim too high for now. Reaching the basic today would be good enough. Shintian then yells for them to try to follow along as he starts the second demonstration. Several hours later, almost every student was exhausted, yet none of them was able to learn the technique. A few were still at it, but there wasn't much hope. Trembling all over as he pants profusely, Suhong's friend comments on how it was practically next to impossible to learn the Thunder Rush Fist. But when he turned in Suhong's direction, wanting to know if he'd learned it, the training maniac was nowhere to be seen. And in that very moment, Chun Shan, a classmate of his, declared excitedly that he had successfully reached the basic level. Suhong's friend got startled for a second there, wondering just how Chun Shan's brain was built. And at this point, it's no wonder everyone calls him a genius. The principal tried praising Chun Shan's achievement as something worthy of noting. After all, he was their school's #1 genius. But Shintian's reply was like a bucket of cold water on his friend's face when asked if he was interested in guiding Chun Sen. Apparently, in other cities, Chun Shan's achievement was just passing level, not something even worth considering as a genius. Anyway, as the 2 old geezers exit the school's gymnasium, Chun Tian was quick to point out how terrible the batch of students were, and for making him come there for nothing. But Principal Lee retorts that having 1 student reach basic was good enough. Was his friend still expecting to find a top-tier genius? Chun Tian comments on how the martial Dao cultivation was extremely cruel, so talent was simply too important. To this, Principal Lee agreed, adding that relying only on hard work without opportunity is absolutely impossible. But in that very moment, the two felt a sudden surge of martial power nearby, and upon a quick search, they saw Su Hong performing a mastered-level Thunder Rush Fist. Chun Tian praised Principal Lee for having an expert in his school. But Principal Lee, shocked and confused as hell, replied that it's impossible because he had never seen or heard of this mysterious person. But looking at Su Hong's clothes from behind left no room for doubts. It was indeed a student from Star City #1 High School. As Su Hong performed the technique once again, Chun Tian comments on how it's been only a day since he thought the technique, and a student was already striking out 7 sounds. Su Hong further stunned the 2 old geezers when he suddenly surpassed Chun Tian and reached the perfect realm. Principal Lee wondered if he had heard wrong. But upon seeing his friend tremble very abruptly, he questioned if there was something wrong with him. Chun Tian simply grinned as he admits that he now finally understands everything. His fist immediately crackled with yellow lightning, and upon performing the Thunder Rush Fist, Chun Tian surprisingly broke through his bottleneck. Principal Lee watched with a look of shock and apprehension after hearing 8 strikeout sounds. And Chun Tian, excited as hell, confirmed that the Thunder Rush Fist he just witnessed gave him the inspiration. Otherwise, he might never have broken through in his lifetime. Anyway, now wasn't the time to talk about such matters. They must quickly go see who the student was. The two leaped over the fence and dashed toward the court, hoping to find out the identity of the student. But they were unexpectedly a bit too late. Su Hong, who had no idea of their presence, had left the very moment he finished performing the 9-sound Thunder Rush Fist. He was on his way to practice, totally oblivious to everything that happened. But what he didn't expect was how tiring this C-rank martial skill would be when cultivating. It even far exceeded the D-rank Vajra Fist. Opening up his system window, he was pleased to see his Thunder Rush Fist already at the perfect realm. His next step was to think of a way to earn martial values and strive to break through to martial artist ASAP. However, Su Hong didn't want to be in a life-and-death battle like last time just to obtain martial value. But he also didn't know if sparring with someone would do the trick. Su Hong arrived at his workplace, the Raging Thunder Dojo. Inside, he walked in to see several trainees practicing diligently. A brown-haired guy walked up to him and asked why he came. Obviously, to train since that's all he thinks about. As the two were chatting, a violet-haired guy suddenly kicked another trainee to the ground. Furious, he mentions how the guy dare claim his teacher teaches badly. If his comprehension was poor, he should just admit it. Why make excuses at the expense of his teacher? Su Hong asked what the situation was really all about, and the guy filled him in since he hadn't been there lately. Apparently, that violet-haired guy's teacher was the newly arranged instructor. He was very strong, but he looks down on commoners like them, and teaches classes very perfunctorily. The violet-haired guy, Li Yen, being his disciple, was also very strong and shared his teacher's disdain. Li Yen raised his fist and comments on how his opponent shouldn't have challenged him with his measly level. But before he could deliver his punch, Su Hong grabbed his hand and issued a warning for him to cut his assault short. Li Yen turned in Su Hong's direction and questioned who he was. If he had the guts, he should let go of him and get in the arena for a one-on-one challenge. But in that moment, the teacher in question walked in, wanting to know what the commotion was. The class was about to start. Li Yan freed himself and walked off, not forgetting to point out on how lucky Su Hong was. But Su Hong wasn't the least bit threatened and only saw how arrogant Li Yan was. Li Yan's teacher picked up a spear and informed the crowd that today was the last day he would be teaching them the Raging Sea Spear technique. His old rule was still in effect, so he would only perform it once. He then began to demonstrate the technique, moving with elegance and grace. As the bastard briefly stares at the crowd, he was so sure that none of them would be able to learn it with just a demonstration, or so he thought. Because Su Hong was not only planning to prove him wrong, but he intended on perfecting it by reaching the perfect realm as soon as possible. His eyes followed every small detail in the middle-aged guy's movements, and after the demonstration was over, the arrogant bastard drops his spear and walked off with Li Yan in tow. He informs them that he was done, and how much they learned depended on themselves. The crowd grew furious by this, claiming his teachings were a scam. How the hell were they going to learn anything from just one demonstration? And what's more, the back row couldn't even clearly see the demonstration at all. On the other hand, Su Hong seemed to have grasped the core concept of the spear technique, which was the spear being like a flood dragon treading the sea, and the momentum like endless giant waves. Su Hong took his stance and started performing the technique with ease. The fluidity in his movements dazzled the stunned crowd as they began to wonder just what kind of martial arts prodigy he was. Or is it that they were just too stupid to comprehend the technique in one demonstration? Su Hong's movement left no doubts that he hadn't just learned it, but probably mastered it as well. Li Yan heard the noise and came back to the training hall, questioning what the commotion was for. But upon hearing that someone had learned the technique, he asked who. The crowd simply made way as he watched Su Hong perform the Raging Sea Spear technique with ease. Now, even though Li Yan was stunned to see this, his expression remained the same. He decided to test Su Hong's depth on the technique, believing it would be interesting if he was really a genius. He called out to Su Hong and offered to give him some pointers. Being a training maniac, Su Hong naturally didn't refuse, even though he wasn't sure if there was anything to learn from Li Yan. His brown-haired friend warned him out of concern. Although Li Yan's character was bad, his strength was very high, so he shouldn't be impulsive. Su Hong assured him not to worry before taking his stance. He informed Li Yan to please enlighten him. But seeing Su Hong's confident demeanor, this arrogant fucker actually calls Su Hong arrogant before demonstrating the Raging Sea Spear technique at a micro level, but couldn't perform it well enough. Su Hong simply gave a helpless sigh, indicating that he had surpassed Li Yan before performing the technique at the proficient level. Li Yan couldn't comprehend how it was even possible for someone to perform the proficient level Raging Sea Spear technique after a single demonstration.